Hi everybody and welcome back to EvoYOUtion.
Change starts with you.
Myself Jordan.
Myself Cordell.
And we're here back to provide you with that content, that EvoYOUtion, to inspire the change within you, to make them positive strides in your life so you can ultimately become that success that you want to see.
Yeah. So obviously looking at the notes today, we've got a special one lined up. I see you put down setting goals for the next 100 years.
Yeah, definitely. I know it sounds a bit bizarre, like set a goal for the 100 years. It don't really make too much sense. But what we want to do is kind of invite you to start thinking bigger than you, thinking about your legacy, thinking about your mission here on this earth. What do you feel that you've been put here on this earth to do? We touched up on it when we was talking about like purpose and having purpose and those sort of things there. But today really is just to kind of go into the detail of about creating legacy, having that vision that means so much to you that it will potentially outlive you.
Yeah, so ideally you're saying like setting a goal or setting a vision for yourself that's going to outlive you and potentially outlive generations to come. That's still going to be here in generations to come.
I think so, yeah. When we talk about legacy is something that will define us here on this earth and even after we depart, after we are kind of, deceased. And it's about believing in something so big that it's kind of unbounded by time. What do you believe in? What do you want to achieve? Whether that's in business, whether that's in life, with family, that will potentially outlive you. Something that's going to last for the next 100 years. Something that's going to have an impact not only on you while you're alive, but it may have an impact on your family, people that are inspired by the message, by the business. It's ultimately about becoming a visionary.
Yeah, definitely, man. And like you said, man, you've got entrepreneurs like your Richard Branson, who's now traveling to space, Elon Musk.
Yeah, definitely. And these individuals, you're right in saying that. I think these people are visionaries.
Yeah, 100%, man.
They've created something, or they wish to create something that they may not even see the success within their life span.
Yeah, definitely.
But because they're so inspired by that mission, inspired by that kind of their purpose, they're willing to kind of sacrifice everything now to actually have something that when they might not reap the rewards of it per se financially here and there, but many of us, the people that they're aiming to serve, will actually reap the benefits for years and years and years beyond them living.
Yeah, so it's really about leaving legacy, man, and really building and creating legacy for yourself and your family. Because it's just like, for instance, I've got an organisation, We Shine Together, man, where we do a lot of work abroad. Obviously, our aim really is to be able to develop entrepreneur hubs for, kids in disadvantaged countries to be able to use the resources around them to become self-sufficient. Yeah. Now a goal alone, even though I haven't thought about it like how you broke it down, but that is something really that I want to live on beyond me.
Yeah.
Beyond, you know what I mean? So that is, I could say that's my goal for the next 100 years.
Exactly, and even going deeper into that impact that you will have on those individuals, their experiences, the knowledge that they'll be able to create from something like that will ultimately allow your legacy to live on. Because for an example, an individual attends one of those legacy hubs or kind of entrepreneur hubs, and they actually build a business that impacts 100 people and that then impacts another 100 people. That ultimately started from a vision of yours.
100%, man.
And ultimately it will allow, and if your dream and your goal, your vision is bigger than you, it's about serving as many people as you can, then ultimately you will in effect be able for your legacy to outlive you.
Definitely, and I think that's important. I think we should hold on that as well, because a lot of people do set goals, and it is just ideally it's just short term, especially when it comes to around money, or like we said, we kind of spoke about it before, jumping onto the new shiny thing. Like if you got a goal that can serve people, do you know what I mean? If you can serve people or solve a problem that can serve people, do you know what I mean? It will ideally grow and live on.
It depends on, obviously, the reality is dependent on kind of where we find ourselves. A lot of us may be kind of tied into like kind of say certain employment where we might get paid weekly, might get paid monthly. We might be tied into like finance repayments, loan repayments, and it's really hard to kind of look beyond kind of being paid and then paying your bills, and you can almost become entrapped in kind of life where it's very much kind of paycheck to paycheck, and it's hard to kind of oversee what it is that I actually feel responsible or what am I inspired to do, because you have a responsibility to kind of stay above water, not sink, and that's more about kind of your go to work, I grind, I get my money, I pay my bills, and your kind of survival is your kind of legacy. It's about surviving, and I think it's taking the mind away from a survival mentality into kind of prosperity and growth and sharing, learning, caring, giving, and being inspired every day by what you do and able to kind of leave a footprint here on this earth. And it's crazy to think, but it can be quite a difficult kind of vision or idea to have. Would you agree?
I do agree with that. Obviously, I've always been somebody that I've understood the concept of overworking in it and just putting in 100%, 10%. So whether you are at that 9 to 5, like what are you doing between 5 and 2 o'clock in the morning? Do you understand what I'm saying? Leading up to that, are you getting ready for bed? Are you chilling? Are you trying to, go on your phone and have gossip with family and stuff like that? Because you won't be able to do that if you want to live your dreams or be able to do something where you're serving people and feel like you're living out your purpose.
Well, okay, so if we use that as a case study, so the average individual, say, works a 9 to 5 job. So we can break down some numbers now. So 9 to 5, that's what, 40 to 42 hours a week of work. Now, within that period of 9 to 5, in a day per se, we could look to identify minutes, hours, these sessions that we can create within our lives that we can actually use to actually commit to building our own legacies. So I'll give you an example. Say you work 9 to 5, you may wake up at 5:30. So between 5:30 and 6 o'clock, that gives you a half an hour spare to work directly, specifically on your goals, on your legacies. Okay? You might have an hour lunch break at work. Okay, half an hour to eat. But then the other half an hour could be to be reading, researching. So that's already an hour. Now, in between getting home, say around 6 to 7, in between kind of 7 to 9, I'm quite confident that an individual would be able to find at least 1 hour away from, as you said, Instagram scrolling, soap operas, catching up with family and friends, things that are not necessarily benefiting us, things that are not necessarily important, that take us away from our inspired purpose and our journey. Now, with that alone, we're able to build 2 hours within a day that we're able to contribute to ourselves. Okay. 2 hours within a day times by the 7 days a week, that gives us 14 hours a week. 14 hours a week times by the 4 in a month gives us over 40 hours, nearly 50, 60 hours of personal time where we can actually dedicate to ourselves.
And that's just from 2 hours a day.
And that's from 2 hours a day. That's from waking up an extra half an hour early. That's sacrificing half an hour in your lunch break. And that's finding 2 hours, which could be a film, could be 2 episodes of a Netflix series. It could be 1 conversation in a Netflix series. But then the reality is, going back to, if we're not inspired by our missions, if we're not inspired, if we don't feel like we have a legacy, if we feel that we're here just to kind of to earn and survive and to live, then that's kind of the reason why we find that we're
But the thing is though, I see a lot of people that understand why they're here, they know what their purpose is, and they want to do it, but they're just not doing it. And it's just like, people are not ready to pay the price.
But I would always ask the question, if somebody's inspired by something and they're not willing to do it, they need to ask themselves the question, why? Now, we touched about it in the first or second episode, the 4 stages of why. It's easy to identify something that you would like the thought of doing, but maybe if you're not actually convinced by it, if it seems too big, if it's somebody else's, like we've touched on, then ultimately it will be difficult, because you've probably been in situations, I've been in there, where when something means so much to you, you're willing to kind of go above and beyond, give that 110% if it really resonates with you. So if you're not actually willing to do so, then how much does that thing actually mean to you? But on the flip side, maybe because we're talking about legacy, we're having this kind of overall goal and this dream, this vision, maybe it's hard to kind of foresee a future that, you know, that being able to see things that are not naturally here in front of your eyes. It's not immediate gratification. It's something that you have to continue to work towards. It's something bigger than you. It may outlive you.
Yeah. Well, that's where we come down to like things like self-declarations.
Okay, yeah.
You know what I mean? And really making, like, you know, self-declaration statements, for instance, writing a letter to yourself like 20, 30 years in time. Do you know what I mean? And getting up and reading that every single day, like embedding those kind of sentences and those visions into you daily, so you kind of walk and talk so like you already have achieved what you needed to.
So the first question I would, and this is a question for you guys, is what do you want to be? What do you want to do? And what do you want to have? Now what I'll do is I'll repeat it. So what I want you to do is actually to write this down and actually have a think. So what do you want to be? What do you want to do? And what do you want to have? And that's allowing you to think kind of future tense of things that you may not necessarily be doing or having right this second, but it's about being able to visualize a goal and vision per se moving into the future. So that's the initial point of reference, to know exactly what it is that you want, what you want to be, what you want to have. Because without having that, it would be difficult to then kind of build
of course,
in and around that. With that saying, I think touching on kind of legacy as well, and I know this, I don't want to be so morbid, but we look at kind of the average death rate within the UK alone, and the average between male and female, it's like 79 to 81. All right, which to be fair, kind of does send a bit of shivers down my spine. We're looking at a lot of the individuals that will probably be watching this now. We've already kind of lived kind of a third of our expected life expectancy already on this earth, and to think that life is ticking away, but ultimately what you choose to do today and do tomorrow can have an impact generations and futures and
listen to what I'm saying. You see that? That is important, and I don't want to deliver that softly. Like, your life is ticking away. Do you understand that? Like, you've got a life expectancy. Every day you wake up, you're closer to demise, you're closer to death ideally, and there's no harder way of saying it, but it's the truth. So it's kind of like you have to be taking actions now, because you know what I'm saying, every single day. Like, I remember a guy told me, he's written down his life expectancy. So I think he said it was around, what did he say? It was around
79 to 81.
Around 79, yeah. So I remember a guy said, for instance, say he's 25, he's made the number of years from 75 to 25, sorry, that he currently was, to 79. And what he's done is he's written the days, and every single day he goes to sleep, he marks down the number, he goes down and down, so it's on a dashboard in live days. And what fuels him every day to go hard. Do you understand what I'm saying?
So this is how, for me, this is how I personally do things. So I will have an idea of kind of legacy, something that I'm inspired to do. So for example, some of these videos might even outlive me, or some of the teachings that we're kind of developing, certain of the programs that we learn to start to build within EvoYOUtion may be taught years and years after I'm here or not. And what I tend to do is I have kind of my 100-year goal, and then within kind of certain milestones within kind of the timeline of my life, as you correctly said, I will kind of jot in certain aspects, an idea of the turnover in my business within the next 5 years, within the next 10 years, the idea of will I even have children, and I try and kind of map and plan. Now, not to say that you can be so specific and direct to say that you can, you know, it's gonna guaranteed to happen, but at least to start to have a vision. And as you work from the top and work backwards, what you'll start to do, you'll have your overall goal, which is your legacy. That's the thing that gets you up, that's what gets you going, that's what inspires you to get through every single day. Now as you draw back, you'll start to see how the story can unfold. And then when you start to get now into kind of years, 5 years, 3 years, 1 year, you can start specifically trying to break down individual goals. So as we're in a new year now, we're looking at kind of, you may have your legacy up here, but in order to get to your legacy, you need to achieve these steps. So in year one, you've got a step that you must achieve. Okay, so what I would advise is that we create this yearly goal. Okay, and within that yearly goal, we break that down into every 3 months. Okay, so every 3 months, every quarter, same way businesses do it. Every 3 months, every quarter, you have a chief aim, something that you need to achieve. So that yearly goal is broken into 4 smaller goals. Within those first 4 months of the quarters. Each you'll have a chief aim. Okay, and from that chief aim, you'll then break down into actions. And then you'll then break that down into steps. And you'll start to be able to visualize and see, hold yourself accountable, how if you kind of break it down time by time, but starting from the top, starting from your legacy, but as you go further back in time, you can start to see how it all can unfold, how it can all be possible.
For real, man, for real.
So there will be, moving forward, we have started to create programs, we have started to create little kind of like app things that you can use on your computers that will able to allow you to see this and visualize this. These things are coming because it's important to be able to see it. I know we're just talking it, but we are actually living it, and we are actually using certain things that are enabling us to have these legacies, have these visions for the next 100 years. Our aim, our hope is to be able to provide these things to you guys, so you can actually use it, take them up, use them as you're watching it, and share them amongst the people. As we said, change starts with us, and we're here to help try and inspire some change.
Yeah, man. But like you said, man, like setting goals for the next 100 years. Can your goals outlive you? Are you thinking small? Are you thinking like a small player, or are you thinking like a big timer? Do you know what I'm saying? Are you thinking about the next 100 years, like when you're gone? Just like Steve Jobs, Apple's still running in one of the most successful companies in the world. Why can't you do the same? Do you know what I mean? Your life expectancy. Think about that, man. Like, time's ticking on all of us, you get me? Time is our most important asset, man. Use it wisely, because you don't want to go to the graveyard with your dreams and with your goals, because that's where someone told me the richest assets and the richest plans and all the richest ideas are in the graveyard. People died without achieving them things. So just keep that on your mind and keep pushing.
Most definitely. And can you achieve beyond life?
Yeah.
And I would like to think, yes, you can. If you have something that you're inspired to do, something that will impact many people as possible, provides a service, then there's no reason why it cannot outlive you. There's no reason why your children, your family can't reap the financial benefits of something that you create today.
Bang. I like that.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
All right.
Cool. Change starts with you.